Hi, everyone. Wanted to do a quick midday update about what I'm seeing here as far as severe weather potential focused on the mid-Mississippi Valley down through the mid-South, the areas with enhanced high risks of severe weather today. And I want to start off, as I usually do, by looking at a visible satellite image. And you can see here that I've got the GOES lightning mapping array lightning data overlaid on top of this visible image. And you can see that there are several strong to severe thunderstorms occurring right now in a band from central Missouri down into northeast Texas. And one of the things that's really interesting about these storms and how they've evolved this morning is that they've stayed relatively discrete. In other words, it's not a solid line of storms, yet the storms are still relatively individual. And another thing that you can see is that there's actually a fair amount of sunshine out ahead of these storms, especially in Arkansas, northern Mississippi, into western Tennessee. And while there is more high cloudiness as you go further north into southeast Missouri and southern Illinois, even there's a fair amount of filtered sunshine getting through. So if you look at the current temperature analysis, you can see that temperatures have already risen into the upper 70s and lower 80s across much of the area ahead of these storms. And dew points, which measure the moisture in the atmosphere, are well up into the 60s across most of the area from south of St. Louis down through the lower Mississippi River Valley. And we even have some lower 70s dew points coming up through Mississippi. So if we look at how that's affecting the atmosphere, we can look at the Storm Prediction Center's mesoscale analysis, which essentially enables us to look at a lot of the parameters that meteorologists look at to forecast severe thunderstorms. And I'm looking here at CAPE, which is a measure of the convective energy, the instability in the atmosphere. And the values are already up in the 1,000 to 1,500 joule range across southern Missouri and southern Illinois, and up to like 2,500 joules now along the Mississippi River in northeast Arkansas and western Tennessee. And these are pretty impressive values for early April in this part of the country. And when we combine that with looking at the wind shear, the deep layer shear is already like 40 to 50 knots across a lot of this area, which is supportive of supercell storms that can produce intense severe weather. And this deep layer shear is only forecast to increase with time. The low level shear is already quite high across this area. This is the helicity, which basically measures the amount of rotation that can develop in the lower levels of the atmosphere due to low level wind shear. And these values of 300 to 600 are quite high and very indicative of significant tornado potential. So if we look at where the thunderstorms are going to be by early this afternoon, this is the high resolution HER model forecast of radar reflectivity for 2 p.m. this afternoon. And you can see, while the coverage of storms looks like it starts to increase, the storms are still pretty relatively broken up. They're not a solid line yet. And the model is showing several intense supercells, one here near St. Louis, another here in northern Arkansas. And while the model is very likely not picking up on the exact locations of where the most intense storms are, it is telling us that, say, for the St. Louis area, we're looking at probably a 2 to 5 p.m. time frame for a higher risk of severe storms, including potential tornadoes. And then as we go through the afternoon hours, this risk is going to continue to increase across southeast Missouri and eastern Arkansas, and eventually there into western Tennessee. And if we look here at 6 p.m., while we can see that the line of storms is becoming more solid here from southeast Missouri down toward the Arklatex region. We can also see that there are some supercell storms breaking out in the model world anyway, across western Tennessee and even just ahead of the line in northeastern Arkansas. And any storms that develop like this out ahead of the line, or that maintain their individual character within the line, are going to have a much greater risk of tornadic activity and potentially significant EF2 or greater tornadoes with any of these more individual storms, whether they're within the band, or even probably more concerning would be out ahead of the line in the warm sector. So just to kind of reinforce that not only are the risks looking on track, I'm actually probably a little more concerned, especially for this area from southeast Missouri, from the St. Louis area south down into northeast Arkansas and into western Tennessee and Kentucky for this afternoon and evening, for increasing tornado potential, some of which could be significant, along with large hail and damaging winds. So we'll continue to monitor. We'll likely have a Substack chat here later on this afternoon to look at radar data and talk about how the threats evolve.